up on Tech News today, Oracle's coming for your cloud, Amazon, but Amazon's coming out swinging with the Paperwhite. Plus, FreedomPop wants you to have free Wi-Fi, sort of, and Netflix is more kid-friendly. All that and more next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Monday, October 1st, 2012. Tech News Today is brought to you by RingCentral. We do everything in the cloud at TWiT. That's why we love cloud-based phone system by RingCentral. Zero startup costs, and RingCentral is only $20 per month per user. Try it now with a 30-day risk-free trial and buy one desk phone and get a second phone free. Call 800-543-9980 or visit ringcentral.com and use our promo code TWiT. And by the new Squarespace. Squarespace introduces a new content management system, making it faster and easier to create a high-quality website, blog, or online portfolio. Plus, more than 50 new features, including mobile responsive designs. Pardon me, for a free trial and 10% of your first purchase. Go to squarespace.com and use offer code TNT10. This is not a time for me to lose my voice. And by Gazelle, the fast and simple way to sell your iPhone, iPad, MacBook, or Android smartphone. Find out what your gadget is worth and get cash to upgrade to the latest iPhone at Gazelle.com. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm alive. I'm Sarah Lane.
Hey, I'm Brian Brushwood.
And I'm Jason Howell. Woo! Made it.
So the show is going to seem a little weird to you, and I'm sorry that somehow my voice is failing me. It's Monday, so these things happen. Tom Merritt is off on assignment at jury duty. Ayaz Akhtar is on a scheduled vacation. Brian Brushwood has decided to step in and save the show. We also have Erica Ogg, who's joining us from GigOhm to talk through our discussion stories. We'll say hi to her a little bit later in the show. But let's start off with the top 10 stories of the day in the news views. First off, this isn't actually a tech story, but congratulations to Yahoo CEO Marissa Mayer, who had her baby boy last night. She says she'll take a few weeks of maternity leave, but she'll be working throughout. Big surprise. Also, Amazon began shipping their e-ink readers today, the Paperwhite for $119 and the Paperwhite 3G for $179 or $20 more if you want the devices without lock screen ads. The higher contrast screens with built-in front light are a hit, with most reviewers giving very high praise. The Verge gave it a rare 9 out of 10.
HP made official the mysterious tablet that had been showing up in their ads during the Olympics. The Elite Pad 900 is a 10-inch Windows 8 slate meant for business users with features like pen input, drive encryption, and optional 3G and 4G. HP said the tablet will go on sale in January, but no price has been announced.
Sharp has begun manufacturing 5-inch 1080p displays with 443 pixels per inch density. The new dense display will be 1.3 times denser than Sharp's own 4.3-inch 720p display. Sharp will show the 5-inch display off at the CEATEC or CTEC trade show this week in Japan.
So Iran lifted the restrictions on Gmail imposed a week ago. The BBC reports that Iran's Telecommunications Ministry Committee said, quote, "We wanted to block YouTube, and Gmail was also blocked, which was involuntary." Iran has blocked YouTube in one way or another since 2009.
Oracle is taking on Amazon in the world of cloud services. Amazon Web Services is widely used by websites, large and small, to provide flexible storage and bandwidth, among other things. Oracle's 12c, the C stands for Cloud database, this is a new one, will be the software foundation in Oracle Clouds.
And while we're on the subject, also happening at Oracle World Conference, Nokia has a new partner that isn't Microsoft. According to Business Week, Nokia signed a contract to provide Navtech location platform to Oracle. Nokia always in need of good news these days, saw its stock rise after the news broke.
Do you like data caps, provided you don't have to pay for them? Starting today, FreedomPop will offer 500 megabytes of free wireless data in major U.S. cities. Public beta registrations are open for 2 weeks, and then the company will give out Wi-Fi hotspots and USB dongles with a refundable deposit. The service runs on WiMAX, at least for now. You can earn more free data by referring friends, as well as buy higher data caps without a contract.
So Japan implemented a new sentencing for people found guilty of downloading copyrighted content without authorization, aka piracy. New regulations allow for a fine of up to 2 million yen, which is about US $25,700, and up to 2 years in prison. The new law, passed in June, makes illegal downloading a criminal offense instead of a civil one.
The blog That's Not Funny posted pictures of what appear to be brand new models of a Slingbox at an unnamed Best Buy. The new Slingbox 350 and 500 both appear to stream up to 1080p and have redesigned hardware.
Woohoo! Bloomberg reports that EU, European Union Justice Commissioner Viviane Reding, has written to the EU member states asking them to review Apple's product warranty advertising. Under European law, iPad and iPhone purchasers are entitled to a minimum 2-year warranty. Reding feels that Apple may not have properly informed the customers of that fact.
All right, before we get into some of our discussion stories for this show, let's take a moment to thank Ring Central for sponsoring this episode of Tech News Today. Back when we built the studio, gosh, it seems like yesterday, but we've been in here for over a year now. We wanted to do as much as we could through the cloud. Store documents, hold meetings. We didn't want a PBX system in the basement. Some of you who have experience with PBX are cringing right now because you know that they're no good. Russell, our IT guy, said, you know what, we've got other options. In fact, we could go cloud-based phone system through Ring Central, which seemed like a great idea, and it is. We love it. 0 startup costs, no PBX hardware, nothing to install or maintain on that front. Ring Central allows us to customize all of our call handling, get little emails when somebody's left a message for me. I don't have to worry about blinking lights and this and that. Producers love getting their voicemail that way, even get fax messages right on our smartphones. If you were that kind of company who's getting a lot of faxes, hey, everybody is covered. Ring Central is offering all-inclusive pricing as low as $20 per month per user. And you can start right now with a 30-day free trial, which is risk-free, by the way. They have a special offer for all of you. If you buy one desk phone, you get a second phone free up to 20 phones. So call this number. This is designated for all of you, 800-543-9980. That's 800-543-9980. Or you can go to ringcentral.com and use the promo code TWiT. Again, ringcentral.com, promo code TWiT. And we thank Ring Central for sponsoring this episode of Tech News Today. All right, to help us get through some of the discussion stories in the news world is Erica Ogg, senior writer over at GigOhm. Hey, Erica.
Hey, how's it going?
Very well. So you were reminding us before the show that you have been on Tech News Today a number of times, but just for specific stories. So this is the first time you're joining us for a whole show.
Yeah, usually just to talk about Apple, but I'm going to branch out today.
All right. Well, awesome, because we are starting with some stellar reviews for the new Amazon Kindle Paperwhite. I don't know how many reviews the two of you have read, but I mean, Gizmodo says, forget everything else. This is the e-reader you want. And Gadget says, to all of these features add up to the best e-reader out there in a syllable, yep. Amazon was clearly focused on creating the best possible reading experience with the Paperwhite, and it's delivered. Wired says it's light, eminently pocketable, presents the best electronic reading experience. The list goes on. All of these reviews started flooding the internets last night because it was
I think my favorite part about all the reviews is, and you saw this in 2 or 3 of them, that they mentioned that they had no way to actually test the battery power because the claimed battery length is if you use it 30 minutes a day without Wi-Fi, you get 2 months of use out of it. And they're like, we can't test that in time. So we just assume the battery life goes for a very long time, which is hugely impressive.
Right. It's like we haven't had our prototype models long enough before the embargo lifted to let you know if the battery life is indeed as good as those say. That's a good point. These reviews are amazing. Erica, did the folks over at GigOhm have a Paperwhite? Have you been passing it around?
So my colleague Laura Hazard-Owen, who covers the digital publishing space, had one, and she had her review up. And hers, like a lot of the other ones you read, she was very positive. She really likes it. One of the things she mentioned was the fact that you can turn on that light for at night. She's like, I use it all the time, not just at night. So she really liked that part. I haven't used it myself yet. Actually, that's a whole other thing. I'm not a big e-reader person. I love like actual physical books. But if I had
I was about to agree with you, but for the wrong reasons. See, I'm not an e-reader person because I'm all audiobooks. It's like I want to be doing something else while I'm doing my reading, except for something interactive like web browsing or whatever. Like for that, I do a ton of reading stupid words, but everything else I like spoken in my ears.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I just like for magazines, absolutely. I love reading digital version of those, but for some reason, like when it comes to books, I like actual paper.
You know, Erica, I tend to kind of agree with you. I mean, I have a physical book I'm reading on my nightstand right now, and I don't even think about the fact that, oh, maybe if I had a Kindle, this would be a different experience. It's just, I don't know, I can read it. It's fine. I need a light on next to me. But the ebook experience, you know, I think we've set a new bar, right? This is the ebook to get. Other ebook competitors will figure out a way to catch up to Amazon sooner than later, obviously, or you know, there would be really no reason for them to exist. But I always wonder if someone like Erica or me kind of goes, yeah, ebooks, I love the idea. That seems fine. But I don't know, physical books are good too, and they look nice in a bookcase. How much does it have to be an amazing experience and the display be that much better and the lighting be, you know, that much crisper in order to convince somebody who's just never used an ebook to start using one?
Well, certainly right now on the convenience side of things, this is blowing it out of the water. I mean, for my daughter is 8 years old and got the $69 Kindle last Christmas, and it is unreal how many books that she's gone through, and it's nonstop, and it's the ease of having one item in her backpack, and she's able to read all the books that she wants. So in that regard, you know, that's going to be the biggest advance. Now we're seeing the refinement phase, and that's why it's important that we're seeing the higher definition of the e-inks. We're seeing that you're not having to endure that half-second long flash every time you go through a page flip. If you'll notice, as they go through stuff, they're able to go like 4 or 5 times before you got the black on white flash to sort of reset all the e-ink pixels on there. That's going to be a slow refinement, but the important things are the form factor, the price, and the ease of use. And I think they've mastered all these things. I think that this truly is another important iteration in what is definitely going to be a revolutionary device that an entire generation, anyone under 12 years old is going to grow up not even understanding why this is magic.
And I think that they will sell like hotcakes for the holiday season. You got $120 for the standard Paperwhite. Paperwhite 3G for $179, $200 if you don't want lock screen ads. How many people you think will spring to throw on that extra $20 off of the top and never see ads?
I think
I don't know. Like my colleague was saying, she's like, the ads didn't bother me at all. She said they were totally non-intrusive. So,
right, it's not like they're popping up while you're, you know, on page 37. You know, just at the beginning.
But
so,
isn't there some part of you that actually wants to know what everyone's talking about, even if it's a paid-for marketing message? Like, I just feel dumb when everyone talks about, like, let's say you're late to the 50 Shades of Grey thing. There's some part of you that wishes you would at least known that that's what everyone would be talking about.
Well, and you're assuming that would be one of the ads on the Kindle?
Yeah, sure. Everyone's talking about. I mean, so much of the water cooler talk is about whatever's being marketed at the time. So it's like, even if you don't want to buy those things, you at least want to know what everyone wants you to buy.
What I find interesting about this whole discussion around the ads on the Kindle is how people are kind of okay with it. Usually we're so averse to, you know, ads that seem to get in the way with things. But what they did kind of interestingly right here is they integrated the ads into the lock screen, but it's the background of the lock screen. It's not an overlay on top of the things you want to get to. It's just kind of passively there. And if you want to engage it, you can. That's kind of a big deal, right? That a company can put out a piece of hardware that has ads that take up the entire screen, but people are okay with it, right? I don't know.
Yeah. Do you know, like, I think the other thing with advertising that drives people nuts is the idea that they're being specifically marketed to based on what they buy. Do we know if Amazon contextualizes its ad sales based on what you buy?
That's a good question as far as the ads on something like the Kindle and a lock screen. Erica, do you have any idea? I don't.
Yeah, I don't.
That would be, I mean, it would be smart on Amazon's part if they could figure out a way to do that. Maybe a little scary for the rest of us. Hey, how'd they know? That type of a thing.
Patrick Delahanty in the chat room claims they do, but that's, of course, unvetted. And it's a very tall person saying that. So
you never know with him. All right, let's move on to Oracle OpenWorld. It's happening in San Francisco right now, and they've pretty much shut down the city. It's very, very large conference happening at Moscone Center. Larry Ellison, obviously Oracle's CEO, had a keynote last night and rolled out Oracle's new infrastructure as a service cloud plan. What they're doing is they're joining public infrastructure as a service, the business, which is the market most people equate with Amazon Web Services. What Oracle is doing is they're running the gamut, really. They've got software as a service. That's where companies pay monthly to use an app on the internet. Platform as a service, where companies would pay monthly to have someone else host their apps, typically custom developed apps. And infrastructure as a service, where companies rent the hardware, set it up however they want, and then use it to host whatever apps they want. And then in this case, Oracle would still be making sure that everything was up and running and troubleshooting and that sort of stuff. For a company who needed to run infrastructure in-house, let's say a large bank, that sort of thing, they just really need to control all of their own data. Oracle will provide private cloud based on the same technology, run and manage it in customer data centers. And then we heard about, and we mentioned in the news views, the Oracle 12c. That's the new database that will be the software foundation. And Ellison said that this iteration of the database will put multi-latency, the ability to secure and keep separate sets of data in one place at the database level, which is something that he has pointed as a company like, let's say, Salesforce not doing as not the most efficient method of storing data. Yeah, I don't know how much this really applies to the consumer. It certainly applies to a lot of businesses in the enterprise. He even mentioned, and this is a quote, back in 1998 and 1999, when NetSuite and Salesforce.com came out, the only way to do multi-latency was at the application layer. And he says there are problems with that. He used to really give competitors a hard time around the idea of multi-latency and said it was an aging technology. It's interesting, he has stakes in both NetSuite and Salesforce.com. And NetSuite CEO Zach Nelson told GigaOM that NetSuite is not going to choose to run our applications on anyone's public cloud. So that's Oracle, that's Microsoft, that's Amazon. We need to manage every aspect of our infrastructure to ensure service level commitments we have made to our consumers. No official word from Salesforce. And Mark Benioff, who runs Salesforce as well. But Erica, is this sort of offering from Oracle seem like it's going to pull customers away from those who are already using Amazon cloud services, or is this a whole different market?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't focus on Oracle very much. I focus on more consumer-oriented stuff. But it seems like the big thing in his announcements were that they're still really pushing like their high-end hardware, where it seems like a lot of these other companies rather build on like really cheap hardware, sort of like the commodity servers. So I don't know. I don't know what the market for that is like.
Brian, do you have any experience with Amazon Web Services? Is that the sort of stuff you've ever needed to use their cloud service to back up a lot of data?
I'll tell you what, when you told me that I'd be sitting in for a missing Tom Merritt, I did not expect I would actually need to answer a Tom Merritt style question. And unfortunately, service is a little bit outside of my domain.
Yeah, it's mine too. This is not something that, even at TWiT, we have run up against needing to figure out a solution for. But it is the big news at Oracle OpenWorld. And
I can say that they are certainly making a big amount of noise on it. I opened up Google News this morning, as I always do, and the very first thing to pop up was a 30-second theatrical trailer-style intro video for the live streaming that YouTube is doing, covering all of the Oracle stuff. So again, if I had anything that would touch any of this, I would definitely be watching all of it live. But unfortunately, only as a consumer can I expect to get any benefit out of any of this.
Exactly. I think it's also interesting, and this makes great headlines because Larry Ellison in the past has said the cloud is stupid. This is not the kind of services that we're offering, and that's going in a direction that Oracle's not a part of, and clearly he has changed his tune. You know, Amazon Web Services, I can recall a few times in the recent past where they went down. A lot of companies were affected, companies that you don't even realize are using Amazon Web Services until all of a sudden Instagram doesn't work, for example. So there are probably some companies who say, well, you know, that was my best option as far as keeping everything up. But now, if I've got another option and it's priced competitively, we don't have pricing information at this point from Oracle. You might see some companies do a switch, or if they have a good arrangement with Oracle in other ways. So,
you know what? This would be a good time for us to plug one of the newest shows on TWiT. This is the kind of thing that they will definitely talk about on This Week in Enterprise Tech with Father Robert Balasar. So definitely check that out.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, they'll be shooting their next episode for all you live viewers in just a couple of hours. So stay with us. All right, let's move on to something that will affect more consumers, certainly in Russia. Yandex, which is the Russian search engine, the largest search engine in Russia, is launching its own browser, at least for desktop users only at this point, but also its first app store to grow its position in the mobile market. Now, this is just in Russia for now, but the company says they will eventually roll out to other markets where Yandex operates. Turkey, Yandex has a presence in, and other former Soviet republics, and then the idea is to go worldwide. The interesting thing is that even though Yandex is the largest search engine in Russia, it has about 60% of all searches. That's less than it had a few years ago. It has faced increasing pressure from companies like Google. Mail.ru is another that's sort of creeping into their turf. And then 2 weeks ago, you might recall, on Tech News Today, we reported that Yandex was going to be the mapping partner for Apple in Russia. So this would be Apple Maps having third-party information when you're either searching for something that's in Russia or actually physically in Russia, providing listings to info and other data, because Yandex had such a good infrastructure there, and Apple realized, well, you know, that's actually a better company to partner with rather than build our own competitor to Yandex from scratch. So Yandex dominates searches on Chrome in Russia. And what's interesting about that is that, this is according to statistics from Live Internet that says so, is that Google is the default search in Chrome. And as anyone who's changed default searching, I mean, it's not just a one-click process. I mean, you have to really want to do that. So at least folks in Russia are definitely preferring to use Yandex more often than not. It's also the top search engine on Firefox in Russia. So both Chrome and Firefox folks decide to use Yandex as search. And then Yandex tells TechCrunch that at least 3 handset makers, Pocketbook, TechSet, and 3Q, were examples given, would be shipping devices preloaded with Yandex's App Store. Now, the App Store part of this is kind of interesting. It'll be Android-focused, but on forked versions. So, for example, it wouldn't be apps that you can get in the Google Play Store. And Yandex... Well, okay, so let's stop here. We're kind of talking about 2 different things. We're talking about Yandex launching its own browser, so you don't even have to say, I like Google Chrome, but I choose to use Yandex in my search bar. It would just be a Yandex browser altogether for desktop users. And then, of course, we've got this new App Store for mobile folks. It sounds like this makes a lot of sense, at least for Yandex's Russian users. It probably remains to be seen how well it spreads before I think Yandex can move into another large market like Turkey, for example. Brian, what do you think? Do you think they can take on Google?
Yes. Well, I mean, they can in their market. Obviously, if they dominate with 60% of the search engine share, that's obviously, that means they're a player in that market. I was ashamed to admit that I had never used Yandex until I saw this. I went ahead and checked it out, and I was really surprised what using a fundamentally different search engine on the other side of the globe was able to find up. I did a little ego search and found some bizarre, awesome stuff. Like somebody had recorded a live stream of a show I had done in 2008. I couldn't even tell where it was. But what this whole move on Yandex's part reminded me of is a book back in, I think, 2006 called The Walmart Effect. Did you ever read that book?
No, I didn't.
So one of the claims that the book makes is that not only does Walmart vastly improve efficiency chains and give you the smallest prices, but just the mere fact that Walmart does it forces other companies to try to match that process. And so as a result, Walmart was the one that realized it was dumb to waste a nickel on a box for deodorant. And so they're the ones who said, stop giving us boxes, just give us the deodorant. And so, you know, you save all these millions of dollars on packaging and shipping, and the environment does better as a result. But now, because Walmart does it, Walgreens doesn't use boxes for their deodorants. None of these other competitors use boxes for deodorants. And so likewise, because Google is putting together this holistic environment for people to dive into, it's forcing other competitors to start thinking more Google-like in the way they approach their customers.
Yandex also offers cloud storage solution. It's called Yandex Drive. A music streaming service. It's called Yandex Music. They've got email services. So I feel like this whole App Store thing, it almost seems like it's what everybody has to do eventually, right? You want to get into the mobile market, and what better way than to have apps that are not only, Yandex will have its own apps as part of this App Store, but a lot of other apps that developers are building off of these versions of Android. Jason, does this sound familiar to you? Does it sound similar to anything that other companies have done successfully, at least when it comes to Android?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of forking, obviously, from a market perspective. The ones that, come to mind are the obvious ones, the Amazon kind of forking it, but they also have kind of an ecosystem to kind of support and back that up. It's really hard for me to talk about, whether this would be successful for Yandex or not, just because I'm not familiar with it, and it seems like it's a very regional style approach. It certainly doesn't hurt for them to tack that on to their overall strategy, though, I don't think. Whether that's successful, though, that's another question. I have no idea.
All right. Well, we've got more discussion stories to get through. Before we do, let's take a moment to thank Squarespace, the new Squarespace.com, in fact, because it's faster and it's easier than ever to create a really high-quality website, blog, or online portfolio. It's not just about blogging. It's not just about photos. It can be about all sorts of stuff. It's really what you make it. Squarespace has launched a new content management system, Squarespace 6. So it's still all about ease of use and not having to be a coder to make a beautiful website, but it's an entirely new product. It's got a whole different code base. So if you don't have a lot of, design chops and you're a little overwhelmed by the idea of building a website from scratch, a lot of this is just going to seem that much easier. But if you do have a lot of skills, if you do like code, you like tinkering around, don't worry, Squarespace absolutely caters to you as well. It's just not necessary. Squarespace developed new templates with mobile-ready responsive designs. That means your site automatically restructures to look good on any smartphone or any tablet or any computer. Didn't used to be that way. You had to think about that after the fact. And these templates are designed to be viewed nicely no matter where anybody's accessing your site. And when you add an image to your site, 7 different versions are created. So the correct size loads for the device that's calling for it. So again, really smart templates. Faster and easier than ever, 100% drag and drop functionality for all of your customization tools. If you are a social network person, so you're not blogging all that regularly, but you're certainly on Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn and Foursquare and all that stuff has really nice integration with Squarespace. So you can really feel like you have a dynamic site that's changing and updating as you are across the internet. If you're interested, here's what you do. You get a free trial by going to squarespace.com. You sign up for a free account. You don't need a credit card. You're not going to get locked into anything. This is just for trying it out. Start building your website. Put a template together. See if you like it. Then if you decide to purchase a Squarespace account, use the offer code TNT10, and you get 10% off your first purchase on new Squarespace accounts. That includes monthly and annual plans because you have some plan options. And free domain registration comes with annual plan subscriptions. That's squarespace.com, and use the offer code TNT10. And we thank them for sponsoring this episode of Tech News Today. All right, let's move into some more discussion stories. Some of the iPhone 5 maps kerfuffle has started to die down. I don't know, at least in my mind. I don't know about you, Brian or Erica, but some of the issues around it are still kind of rolling out. One of the issues that appears to be fixed, at least at this point, but could apply to you if you're a Verizon user, is that iPhone 5 models perhaps were using Verizon cellular data while connected to a Wi-Fi network, which obviously shouldn't be happening. And if you've got a data plan, it's possible that you could have gone over it and might owe Verizon some money. Now, Brenda Rainey, who's a Verizon spokesperson, issued a statement and said under certain circumstances, iPhone 5 may use Verizon cellular data while the phone is connected to a Wi-Fi network. Apple has a fix that is being delivered to Verizon customers right on their iPhone 5. Folks have seen that, I think, at this point. Verizon wireless customers will not be charged for any unwarranted cellular data usage. Now, if you're a Verizon customer and you're worried about that, definitely pay attention to your usage to make sure that that indeed is true and you're not actually being charged more than you should be. I have a Verizon iPhone 5 as of this morning. It was just delivered to the TWiT brick house over the weekend, so I haven't had enough time to play with it to know that if this is still an issue for me. Brian, did you get an iPhone 5?
I sure as heck did. I got, but of course, I've been on AT&T. I've been that guy who begrudgingly stuck with AT&T, I guess, for 12, 13 years now. But now that I'm still grandfathered in, I feel like I can't even sympathize because it's like I'm still wrapped up in that warm glow of the grandfathered unlimited LTE experience happening right now. I know this much, that in the first 7 days, I downloaded over 3 gigabytes on under LTE with the new phone.
Dang!
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, that's not even like trying very hard. This is being on the all the time.
Erica, what about you? You a Verizon customer?
You know what? I was a Verizon customer for like a decade, and I finally caved and switched to AT&T to get the iPhone 4.
Aha.
So this bug is actually the first thing that made me a little sad, maybe not sad that I didn't have Verizon for the iPhone.
Yeah, exactly. If you're wondering, well, now what happens? Is there a fix? There's no real details on what to do if you think that you've gone over in data, and this was an issue on the iPhone / Verizon side. But what you should do is it's in your general settings, and if you go to your about settings. You should, if you need this, there'll be a dialog box that pops up that says, go ahead and get the latest version of, the fix, the Verizon fix. I don't exactly know what the wordage is. Once you do that, you tap OK, you install the update, then you have to power your phone off, and then you have to power your phone back on, go back to the About section, and then make sure you have Verizon 3.1 installed. On my iPhone 4S, I just have, 13.1. The 4S, because this isn't an issue on the 4S, I just say Verizon 13. So there'll definitely be a difference there. So if it applies to you, you've got a fix now, but definitely make sure that you're not getting screwed on your next bill. Meanwhile, another interesting glitch that came down yesterday. So yesterday was supposed to be the day that Mobile Me customers who switched over to iCloud, who have been enjoying 20 free gigabytes of extra storage over the 5 gigabytes free that iCloud users get as default. That was supposed to end yesterday. September 30th was the day that if you were using more than 5 gigabytes of free storage, because you had 25 gigabytes, Apple was saying, hey, you're gonna go back down. This isn't a free ride forever. You really need to figure out either, what not to sync if you're using too much, or you've got to buy a plan that covers you. So if you're using 12 gigabytes, you got to buy that 20 gigabyte plan, for example. Well, a lot of folks noticed not only did they not get, forced to upgrade or downgrade, but that a glitch told them that they indeed had 25 gigabytes until the year 2050. I checked, and I also have that. Now, I am not under the assumption that this is actually just a really, really nice gift from Apple. This is probably going to be rectified soon if it hasn't in the last, 20 minutes since I last checked. But for now, at least, the 5 gigabyte maximum is not in play. It's 25 gigabytes.
I say don't let them take it away from you guys. You guys go nuts. You form protest lines out in front of Apple stores. Give us 50 or bust.
Are we sure that they're not charging for that 25?
Well, it's still under the free plan. When you look at when you go into your, you're managing your storage under iCloud settings, it will say, here's the free plan that you have. And that you have until I assume it's 2050. it's /50, or it could be 2150. I don't know. I mean, we have free storage well after we're all gone. But, this is just little stuff. This is the sort of thing that people love to pick at Apple for. Look, just one more way that the Apple empire is crumbling. You see, this never would have happened under, you hear that before. But this is just stuff to keep in mind. I'm actually going to talk about on this week's i5 for the iPhone, how to make sure that not only you upgrade to the right storage plan, but that you make sure that you're only syncing the sorts of apps that you need to be syncing so that you're not actually buying storage that you don't need. But I think it's safe to say that anybody who is in that camp, former MobileMe, now iCloud user, you have 25 gigabytes, a little bit longer than you should have, but this will go away. So you do need to figure out what you're going to do with the stuff that you want backed up. Okay, moving on to a very interesting wireless initiative. This is FreedomPop. We talked about FreedomPop back in the day when they announced a pretty ambitious plan to provide a variety of Wi-Fi hotspots and dongles to the public. It's limited to U.S. cities for now, just in an initial rollout. But they're in their public beta. The idea is that you can put a deposit down on, let's say, a USB dongle. It says $49. So this is something that's supposedly refundable, or on a Wi-Fi hotspot for $89. And then iPhone sleeves would be available for purchase in a few weeks for $99, although they're only going to fit the 4 or the 4S. So FreedomPop is going to have to do something about that. The data is over Clearwire's WiMAX. Now, some people are going to say, I don't have WiMAX, I couldn't get it if I tried, or it's really, really slow. But this is the network that that FreedomPop is rolling out initially. What you do is you get 500 megabytes per month free. So it's like, okay, well, let's say I want that USB dongle, $50. And then what's the catch? Well, the idea is that if you want more data, I could say, hey, Erica, use my name as a referral when you sign up, and then I get 10 megabytes per month for each referral that I make. 3 megabytes for checking a particular website. It's kind of like click on this ad and you get free Wi-Fi at the airport type of a thing. 1.2 gigabytes for subscribing to LoJack, which is like a laptop protection service. So there are ways that you can get more data if you feel like, well, this sounds like a great plan, but 500 megabytes a month free would never apply to me. FreedomPop knows that it's not going to apply to a lot of people, and probably the people that decide to pay more, which they will be offering plans for, $15 for 2 gigabytes, $35 for 5 gigabytes, $60 for 10 gigabytes, and so on. This is contract free. There's no activation. There's no cancellation fees. This is attractive enough so that the company will probably end up pulling in enough money to keep everything going and to subsidize the cost of the hardware. Because there will be enough people who will pay on top of this free offering. It's a lot of a goodwill measure, I think, for a lot of folks. Brian, Erica, I think this sounds amazing. I know I blow through much more than 500 megabytes in a month, much more of that in a week. But I love this idea.
Well, it seems to me oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Erica.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I just love the creativity and how they're letting us, if we want, earn more. It just seems so like antithetical to like what the big traditional carriers would even think of or allow. Like in the same way that I can, email someone and say, hey, like use my name at modelcloth.com and then I can get more money for clothes. Like I love that they're doing this for wireless service. I think that's such a great idea.
So the good news is that this is clearly meant to appeal to the kind of people who would never even consider spending the $30, the $50, the $80 that most of us end up spending for our wireless data, especially over a high-speed internet connectivity issue. But what the benefit to all of us is that this is a low-end pressure that hopefully will maybe shake up some of the monopoly that AT&T and Verizon has over most of us. A lot of us use these services. We don't think that of any other option because there really isn't anything out there. A lot of us won't bother to use these dongles. We won't bother to pay a security deposit. We don't want to deal with the freemium model, but everyone else will receive a benefit as a result of this price pressure on it. The downside, of course, is that they're using Clearwire's WiMAX, and Clearwire already tried to do a hassle-free, low-cost platform when they had their Rover Puck 2 years ago, I believe it was. They eventually canceled the Rover Puck. It was a device for like $200-something, and then I think it was $55 a month, no contract, and it was just a Wi-Fi hotspot anywhere you went. Unfortunately, it didn't take off, and that's the risk is if it didn't work for Clearwire to sell it themselves, the question is this freemium service going to be able to stand on its own? And personally, I hope it does because more competition obviously means, you know, a better fit for the price for everyone. But meanwhile, the fact that the company that they're leasing the bandwidth from already kind of failed at a similar model is not necessarily a good news.
If it makes you feel any better, FreedomPop does have a 5-year agreement with Sprint to bring LTE service beginning next year, 2013. They also say if you're an early adopter and you get a WiMAX hotspot or dongle, you can trade in that WiMAX device, pay the difference, and then get an LTE unit once they're available. So that might help folks who say this is a great idea, but I don't want to be stuck with WiMAX for very long. It doesn't sound like you will be, but this at least gets the service and the mentality of having cheap and in many cases free Wi-Fi service that does grow exponentially as folks tell their friends. And you know, what's weird about it is somebody in the chat room said like sounds like a pyramid scheme, and I mean in a way it's like, how long does that model sustain? I mean, there's only so many people I can tell that are going to end up giving me a few more megabytes. And
but certainly we saw that work very well for Dropbox. I mean, that was how most people expanded their Dropbox accounts for the longest time, was just through referrals. So hopefully, if it's infectious in that regard, maybe it'll work in this one.
Very true. All right, quickly, we'll get to our last story. This is hopefully good news for parents who love using Netflix because Netflix has so many titles for kids. Netflix has a new Just for Kids section on the app. This is for the iPad 2 and the new iPad. They say that it will be brought to the original iPad eventually. Probably has to do with the fact that the original iPad can't run iOS 6. So for now, it's the newer versions of the iPad. Also says it'll come to Android tablets soon. The idea is that movies and TV shows that are considered to be appropriate for children age 12 and under will have their own section. So there's a lot less of diving through all of the available titles and saying, huh, interesting. I don't know why SpongeBob SquarePants was offered to me as something that's, you know, similar to Downton Abbey type of a thing, where sometimes that stuff gets a little muddled. What do you think? Do you think it's enough to say, okay, son or daughter or kids, go ahead and have the iPad, Netflix is running, because there's now a kids section and you can just sort of have it and it won't be an issue?
I'll let Erica go first, but I definitely have an opinion.
Well, I don't have kids, but to me, it seems like at least a good move on Netflix part. It seems like that's a pretty good way of becoming sort of indispensable to parents. I mean, I know a lot of people that I talk to are sort of like meh on the movie offerings on Netflix. But, you know, if your kids start to associate your iPad with their favorite show, you know, that just, the parents are going to continue to pay for that.
No, I'm telling you, look, as a father of two and a third one cooking on the way, I love this feature. I loved it when it came to the PC. Only my daughters were always on my work PC. And then it came to Xbox. Now I love it because they're in the living room all the time. And now I'm going to double, triple plus, double good love it now that it's on an iPad. Because the problem I worry about is they just go through, and my daughter can't read anything, but she knows how to open Netflix. She knows what it looks like. She scrolls over. She finds something that she recognizes. And it's great at first when she's finding, like, they've got a bunch of old shows that got canceled maybe on Cartoon Network, like you know, the guy who created the Fairly Odd Parents also did a failed series called Tough Puppy that went away, and the kids love all that crap. But I'm constantly worried that they're gonna like accidentally open some kind of like hardcore anime. All of a sudden they're watching Ghost in the Shell or something just because it looks like a cartoon on there. And having that peace of mind. In fact, I'm gonna call you out, YouTube. Why do you not have anything remotely similar to this that's community vetted? Because my kids love poking around on YouTube, but it's way too easy because they don't police language or anything like that, to where they think they're clicking on old Spider-Man episodes, but instead they're doing hilarious redubs with all kinds of potty mouth talk that I have to explain in great detail to the kids.
Yeah, it's so funny. Last week I was over at a friend's house. She's got a little 4-year-old, and he's sitting at the computer watching a My Little Pony cartoon on YouTube, and I went, "Oh, that's such a good idea." Yeah, and because they don't have a TV, and she's like, "This is what we do," but they've got this whole rule that when the video ends, he can't click on anything, even stuff that says related content from YouTube, because she can't be sure that it will actually be what it seems to be, Brian. It's just like you were talking about. So this seems like a perfect way to say, actually, no, if you've got an hour of watching time, here's your kids section on the iPad here.
Go nuts.
Yeah, go nuts. Yeah. We're not gonna be taken off guard.
Jason, do you use it with your kids?
Yeah, so we have a PS3 at home connected to our TV, and absolutely, I'll pull up the Netflix Just for Kids interface. And why this excites me so much is my daughter Lucy, she's not even 3 yet, she's like 2 3/4. She'll run up to the TV with that interface and start touching the characters and say, "This is the one I want." She'll touch it. And so this is like made for her. It's like, all right, here you go. Select the one you actually want to watch. But no, this is brilliant. And Erica, you make an extremely good point, and it's totally applicable to our experience. We pay for Netflix monthly, but we only pay for the instant streaming. I'd say if you looked at all of the rows of recommendations that come up at any given time on our Netflix apps or on TV or whatever, they're all kids shows, because pretty much that's what it's used for now. We don't really watch a whole lot of shows for ourselves because we're so busy, but we still pay for it monthly because those few times every month where it comes in handy, it's like indispensable. It's worth the $8 a month or whatever it is just to have those offerings, because kids do not care. You know what I mean? Like you'd see some of these old shows that are on Netflix and be like, "Oh, I'd never watch that. What a horrible selection." But when it comes to kids shows, it is tops. It doesn't matter.
All right, let's move on to the randomizer. All right, concept car, built-in projector. You're like, what? What does that mean? This is actually the Smart 4 Stars Sport Utility Coupe, which is found in the new Smart Brabus electric car. Has 60 kilowatt electric motor, will help you move around town. And then you come to a point where you're up against some sort of a wall and you can watch a movie in a parking garage. Brian, am I even getting this right? Is that what's going on here?
Sadly, you're getting it 100% right. Now, keep in mind, I am pro nuttiness in everything. I want to see more weird in the world, but there comes a point where you got to balance the practicality of your weird to how awesome it sounds. As best I could tell, this essentially looks like somebody duct taped a projector to the front of a car, which it looks cool. You could have a drive-in movie theater wherever you go. Not maybe the most practical thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. This one kind of boggles the mind a little bit.
I get, to me, it's like, oh, it's the modern. What do you even call those when
drive-in?
You say drive-in? Gosh, it's been so long, I forgot. I like drive-through. That's not right. It's the modern drive-in, but it's like I don't want to sit in my car watch anything.
Well, plus also, it's like I get weirded out enough about other people judging what I'm looking at anyway. The last thing I want to do, I'd rather sit in my car quietly watching my iPad, watching my Breaking Bads or Mad Men's or whatever. It's like I don't want everyone watching what I'm watching, especially when if you're watching it, you probably have not seen it before. I remember when we first got a projector, I set up like a backyard movie theater, and we're about halfway through the movie watching adaptation, and they're showing like a live birth and stuff, and I'm like, what do the neighbors think? I can't imagine what this is going to do.
Or you've got your neighbors, peering over the fence, and it's kind of like when you're on an airplane and the guy next to you is watching your movie and you're like, excuse me, this is my iPad. Stay on your side, sir.
Exactly.
And it's like if you're sitting in your car to watch something, like where is this content coming from? Why would you go into your car to watch it? Like if you can add it yourself, wouldn't you watch it on your own TV? I don't know. So many questions. So many questions. But built-in projectors, they are coming to smart cars, so get ready. Let's see what's on. Oh, no, before we get to the calendar, got one more company to thank, and it's a big one. This is Gazelle. I want to thank Gazelle for sponsoring this episode of Tech News Today. So if you want the new iPhone, because now you've seen my beautiful white iPhone 5, and you're like,
man, Sarah's got one and now I gotta get one. Before you do that, make sure that you sell your used phone to Gazelle so you can get cash and it doesn't leave such a dent in your wallet. Cash you can use to upgrade. Gazelle is easy. If you go to gazelle.com, that's Gazelle, spelled like the animal.com, you just tell Gazelle the condition of the electronics that you're looking to get rid of. So, you know, you be honest. You say, there's a scratch or a nick, or maybe it's in absolutely beautiful shape, whatever. And then they tell you, okay, here's what we're going to give you for your phone. They also lock in that quote for 30 days. So if you're not quite ready to part with the stuff, or you got to find something, this or that, you've got a nice quote for 30 days. Now, of course, if it's in better condition than what you said, when Gazelle gets it, you get more money. And the same goes for if it's a little bit more scratched up than you admitted, Gazelle will they'll even that out on their end. But it's nice to get a risk-free offer for your gadgets. Once you get your new gadget, let's say it's that iPhone 5 or something else, you ship your old one to Gazelle. They'll even pay the shipping for you. They even send you a box to put it in. You just have to basically get it in the mail to go to them. And then you'll get paid by check or by PayPal. For me, PayPal makes a lot more sense because then I don't have to deal with a physical check, but you've got options there. Go to gazelle.com, get an offer for that iPhone or other device, and do it today because, as you know, some of these old iPhones are losing value every day that they get a little bit older. Payment fast, within a few days of the item being received. So if you want money, this is a great way to do it. Unless you are building your own computer history museum, you don't need to hang onto this stuff. You might as well get paid and use it toward the purchase of that new cool thing that you really, really do want. Again, gazelle.com. And we thank them very much for sponsoring this episode of Tech News Today. All right. Okay. Let's go to the calendar. Happy birthday, 4chan. Guess how old 4chan is? Without looking at the internet, Brian, how old do you think 4chan is?
You know what? I already saw, so I'm disqualified. I can't possibly. I know how old 4chan sounds.
Right.
But I can't comment on how old they are.
You know, the answer is 9. That's right. Erica and Brian are both looking at the same thing that I'm looking at, so we all know the answer, but I went 9? Really? Yeah. 4chan is 9 years old.
That's like ancient. That's like middle-aged.
I know. It just doesn't seem like that to me. These years, they go by so fast. Also, the CD is 30 years old today. Now, that sounds about right.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, the CD seems
CD, Sarah Lane?
really old. Yeah, exactly.
What was your first CD?
My first CD, I know the answer because I got my first CD player in 8th grade, I think, and my parents bought me the Breakfast Club soundtrack.
Yeah.
Which was not a new movie at the time. This was long after the Breakfast Club came out, but it was still like a really cool movie to me and my friends. So that was my first CD.
Amazing.
Yep. Okay, moving on before I get any more embarrassed. The Nexus 7 is going on sale in Japan tomorrow, October 2nd. And let's see what's incoming.
Incoming message.
Got a voicemail from a MapQuest fan in Georgia.
Hello, TNT. I love the show. On Friday, September 28th episode, y'all kind of giggled when you mentioned MapQuest about the Apple map problem, but I wanted to just let you know that I live here in Georgia, and every time Google Maps has failed me, I have turned to MapQuest on my iPhone and been able to find the right location. So I'm actually kind of like MapQuest as a backup. Thank you. Keep up the good work.
It's true. We did giggle a little bit about MapQuest, and that's almost habit more than anything. I haven't used MapQuest in a long time. It might be awesome. Erica, do you think the MapQuest maybe it's a service that deserves more?
Yeah, I mean, it does. A lot of us are a little bit scornful towards MapQuest. I have to say, just the other day, I went to someone's website. The only link for directions was a MapQuest link. I judged them. But, I mean, if it's working, that's great news, especially now that Maps is sort of a concern.
Yeah.
on iOS 6.
Yeah, I think it should be less making fun of that brand name that seems old and more use the service that won't,
That you
lead
actually
you
have
into the
access to.
ocean
Yeah.
or onto active train tracks, as I know Natalie Del Conte said happened to her with Apple Maps over the weekend. Brian, you want to take our email?
Yeah, we got an email from Jason in St. Louis that says, printing is the process of reproducing text and images on paper or other media. 3D printers aren't printing, they are crafting objects, which goes well beyond printing. When are we going to stop using the term 3D printing and coin a term more appropriate? So I went to the internet and I looked up, and apparently pedantic is defined as overly concerned with minute details or formalisms, especially in teaching. Look, man, I say English is a living language. Let the words mean whatever we all think they mean. If we all agree, that's the new definition.
Well, and what's the better definition? I mean, Jason, I kind of get your point here, but I would have liked you to offer up, instead of 3D printing, we should call it 3D blah, blah, blah. That would have been better. Come with a solution.
It'll start off as 3D printing, and then somebody will come up with a clever way to condense the down to one syllable, and then that'll become the new word. But it's an organic process. It has to go through these kludgy middle steps.
All right, this marks the end of our show. Thanks to everybody who submitted stories in our subreddit, technewstoday.reddit.com. If you haven't been over there lately, it's a lot of fun. It helps us create our lineup of stories every day. You can submit stories, or you can also vote other people's stories up and down, and make sure that you're part of the conversation. So thanks to everybody who participates in our Reddit, and thanks also to not just Brian Brushwood, who stepped in at the last minute and was an amazing co-host, but Erica Ogg, a senior writer over at GigaOM. Erica, where can people find out more about what's going on with you and at GigaOM and what's new?
GigaOM.com/Apple is where a lot of my stuff goes. And if I may also, we have a new podcast ourselves at GigaOM now. It's called The Commutist, and it comes out every Friday morning, just a weekly podcast on the week's tech news.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. All right. That's and thecommutist.com, gigaom.com/commutist.
I don't know.
Okay.
We always post it on gigaom.com every Friday morning, or you can look it up on iTunes, of course.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So I'm a co-host.
All right, good. More tech news, folks. See, it's a model. It's a proven model. Erica's doing it.
Only once a week.
Well, once a week. Well, you'll wake up one day and all of a sudden you'll be doing this 5 days a week like me, and you'll wonder what happened.
What happened in my life?
Thanks to everybody who wrote in with feedback. 260-TNT show is how you call us. TNT@twit.tv is how you email us. I hope that's right.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
You got it.
Call us, leave us a voicemail, write us, tell us your deepest, darkest secrets, all that good stuff. Tomorrow's guest is Donald Bell, and Tom Merritt might be back from jury duty. He will?
Jury duty, yep.
Oh, that's the best
on the
news
hook.
I've
He might
heard.
be here this afternoon for Frame Rate as well.
Excellent. We'll see you tomorrow.